Hey Carl, what are we doing today?
Well, we'll be working on the Sheen X300.
What are you doing there, Carl?
Well, I've just checked to make sure that the control valve is turned off, and I've just pumped the pressure rods about 3 or 4 times just to build up pressure so that it will allow the fuel to go through the coil. Once we've done that, we'll then open the control valve to allow some of the paraffin to come out through the coil and just trickle onto the wick at the front, which will then act as a fuel. Once you've allowed a fair amount of the fuel onto the wick, you then need to turn the valve off again and then ignite the wick.
What are you doing now, Carl?
Well, now that we've put some fuel onto the wick, you can see through there, as you open the control valve, you can then see the fuel go onto the wick. Once you've turned that off, you can then either light a match and put it through the side onto the wick to ignite the fuel, which will then start the heating process, which will allow the fuel in the coil to evaporate, and it'll give it a better ignition. I'm using here is a gas lighter, which I can poke through the back just to start it up.
How long do we have to wait?
Usually it varies depending on how much fuel you've put onto the wick. Once you've lit it, you just need to leave it for a while, and when it's ready, you'll be able to hear a distinct difference. It will then start to roar. But while you're waiting for that to warm up, you need to pressurise the fuel tank to about 20 psi.
Okay. Is this normal?
It is, yes. While the wick is burning, it'll burn off all of the excess fuel that you've just placed on it. And inside the chimney there's a coil which you've just filled with the paraffin. Once that has started to warm up, the fuel that's in the coil will start to come out to the jet at the end, which will then create that roaring noise, which hopefully you should hear shortly.
Starting to make a bit of noise now.
Yeah, it's starting to warm up. As you can tell now, it's getting a bit more ferocious, which is now telling me that it's about ready to be started.
I can hear that roaring sound.
Yeah, that's it. It's about time to open the valve now.
Okay.
It'll start up. Flame Gun from Mower Magic.